Star Wars 7x7 episode 2011 today. It's another Resistance briefing as we're catching up on back episodes. This is about Breakout, which is Season 2, Episode 13, and is the conclusion of the story arc that began with the missing agent the previous week. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. So here we are, Breakout is Season 2, Episode 13, and the other half of our cliffhanger episode that began with the missing agent. This is a full spoiler breakdown episode for this particular episode of Star Wars Resistance, so if you haven't seen it yet, you know, it's been a week. I have a feeling if you've seen it, or if you were going to see it, you've probably seen it already. Maybe, maybe not, but there's your warning. Here we go. So I will say, as I said on yesterday's episode talking about the missing agent and it keeping up the energy and the excitement from station to station in episode 11, that this is really continuing on a very strong series of episodes for Star Wars Resistance. And they actually get a little bit daring with it because we have torture scenes for Synara and Yeager. Like, they're actually in the interrogation chairs and getting zapped with electricity and going, "Arr!" Which, you know, is done, you know, comparatively lightly, if you will, but you know, it's still them getting interrogated with pain, which is, you know, kind of rather surprising, especially with Resistance supposed to be, you know, targeted toward a slightly younger audience than, say, Rebels was or the Clone Wars was, but it seems like they are maybe maturing into it a little bit, perhaps. But I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit. The main thrust of the episode is how Kaz and Norath are going to rescue Yeager and Synara and CB-23 from the clutches of the First Order, and do it before the Colossus has to jump away. Because the First Order doesn't just, you know, show up with a shuttle in the system, they show up with a whole darn Star Destroyer. That's kind of a problem. And because of the fact that it's Yeager and Synara there, they know to start looking for the Colossus. The Colossus has hidden itself in a field of electrical interference nearby, very convenient, but it's not going to last long. And that darned bounty hunter Axe, who is again voiced by Joe Manganiello, manages to find where the Colossus's shuttle is hiding and sends out a transmission which turns out to be a signal trace, but don't! They establish the trace and Axe is able to turn the Colossus over to the First Order. Doesn't ultimately end up well for Axe and the First Order because the Colossus is able to jump, but not before a surprise is laid for our audience. We see the Aces arguing with Captain Doza about staying and wanting to help. It turns out that the Aces actually did stay even though the Colossus jumped away and were there to help escort the rest of the Colossus team off of the system, which, you know, ended up working out very well from just a storytelling and a viewing standpoint. It was really exciting to have them come back. And when you thought the Colossus jumped away, well, you know, it did jump away, but you thought, okay, something's going to happen, you know, Kaz and the gang will get away and they'll be able to jump to some, you know, predetermined rendezvous location that they had worked out or something like that, or that the Colossus would jump away and then, you know, jump back at a later point to see if it could catch everybody off guard. Yeah, there had to be some solution, but I didn't necessarily see the Aces, you know, staying behind in this particular instance, and it ended up working out very well. And you also had the comedic situation of Kaz posing as a stormtrooper again. The dialogue with Norath Kev about how, you know, have you done this before? Yeah, I've done it before. You know, only once, but it worked. You know, all that stuff was also done very well. And the escape was engineered very well from a storytelling perspective. The fact that they were zapping CB-23, and when he was finally left alone in the room with a single stormtrooper, him being able to launch one of his cables and connect to the stormtrooper while he was getting zapped to be able to zap him as well. Yeah, that was well done. And then going to rescue Yeager and Synara and like, who's rescuing who? That was very well executed, I thought, also. And then for Axe to be just waiting in the shuttle for them to get there, Also well played, but man, this Axe character must be pretty darn impervious to stuff, because he gets broadsided by CB-23 flying the shuttle. I mean, nobody should really be able to get up and be like, grrr, after that. So this guy is not only just, tough skinned, but tough armored too. Tough armored too. Did I say tuft armored? Yeah, tough armored. It's finally the prop wash from the shuttle that knocks him out, just like it knocked out all of those stormtroopers in The Rise of Skywalker. So neat little parallel there. And there you go. The Colossus jumping back into the system just in time, with TIE fighters crashing into it unexpectedly and then jumping back out. Good fun. Good fun. Very solidly executed and exciting episode to wrap up this 2-part story arc. But it turns out that we're not necessarily done with it just yet. And I will explain what I mean right after the break. Stay tuned. Hey Rebel Rouser, I've made some changes to the asteroid belt level at patreon.com/SW7X7, and they are all with sponsors in mind. So if you want to get the word out about your business, your product, your service to a dedicated Star Wars audience, then please check out patreon.com/SW7X7 and look for the asteroid belt level for details. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7X7. Welcome back. So it turns out that the upcoming episode, The Mutiny, which is episode 14 from season 2, is also going to include not only Norath Kev now on the Colossus, but also Axe Tagrin is going to be appearing in this episode as well. The logline that we have from it talks about Kragan, who is the captain of all the pirates, getting some sort of secret weapon that will allow him to capture the Colossus and take it over, and that Synara is going to try and warn Kaz and the crew, but it may be too late. The fact that Axe is still involved in all these shenanigans, though, that is kind of interesting, because how is he going to get involved in this? The Colossus jumped away. The First Order shouldn't know where they jumped to, and Axe is stuck with the First Order on the Vakara system, or the Varkana system, excuse me. So, yeah, how is he going to continue to get involved in this? That's kind of an intriguing proposition, and we will find out about that soon enough. But for now, that is going to do it for this Resistance briefing and this episode of the podcast as well. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.